right lane. I mean, you go up there sometimes and you throw it perfect and you get an absolute perfect strike, and the next time you miss just a little to the right and it hangs out there.
That gives Martin 88 in the third frame.
Well, at this point, you might want to look at the score, because should he go for it and miss them all, the count would be even. You might want to make sure that you at least get one, which he did. Kept his count at 6 as opposed to Robert Anderson being at 4. So that was a good move, making sure that he got at least one.
116 now in the fifth frame for Martin with that open frame, unfortunately. And Robert Anderson 54 in the third, but working on a double.
Well, as a player, that's what you want to see when you're behind. You want to see an open frame by your opponent. And, you know, Robert knows that with a strike on the next ball, there's a good shot by Martin. Strike on the next ball, it's a 2-pin match.
I aquesta és el que està fent. Potser té una mica enganxat, o a vegades se li cau la bola una mica massa d'hora. Robert has pitjat massa, però ha fet strike.
Encadenant strikes Robert Anderson després d'un inici prou fet. Ara aconsegueix el seu tercer strike consecutiu i posant la partida igualada, que és el que ens agrada i que de ben segur que agrada als telespectadors d'Esport 3, que poden gaudir d'aquesta 33a edició del torneig internacional Ciutat de Barcelona. Insistim, 12a prova del circuit europeu.
En aquests moments la distància comptant doblatges és només de 2, és a dir, que el Martin Larsen portaria 2 d'avantatge, suposant que el Robert faci strike. És a dir, que estan molt ajustats. Aquest llançament que ha fet aquest split i el triple posterior del Robert els ha tornat a igualar totalment. I ara comencen la segona part de la partida amb un strike cada un.
Emoció màxima en aquest equador de la partida. El pal, Déu que no cau. Es lamenta Robert Anderson.
Estàs pitjant una mica la bola, això li està passant.
Vegin aquí el moviment. Final.
Ara sí que aquests moments el Martin Larsen depèn d'ell, perquè si fa 2 strikes ja no pot agafar el Robert.
Salva l'Ester.
Realment fa espert i va aguantant l'emoció.
I ara aquest home depèn d'ell mateix.
What's he going to do? Is he going to try to be more precise? Is he going to move to right? Sometimes what happens after you've missed right 3 times in a row, you tend to fit the ball and go through the nose. But Martin, experienced player, let's see what he does.
What equipment's he using, Brian?
Martin's down there using, well, it looks like he's a Storm kind of guy. He's been using a High Road all week long, a Victory Road, and a Rotogrip. And a Nomad Dagger. That was a nice shot there.
That was beautiful. That was his best strike of all.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was solid in the pocket.
Well, I'll tell you from experience that, you know, this game is about a half an inch, a half a board, a quarter of a board. Not being able to see his feet, I'm going to think that he probably moved about a half a board to the right and just piered it.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's difficult to see from where we're sitting exactly where they're standing on the approach.
$13-pin match right now. Could increase it to 23 with a strike here.
That's a loose ball.
Leaves an 8-pin off that shot.
It didn't look.
Ooh, he's talking to it.
Didn't look solid to me when it went in there.
Ooh. Well, you know, some players say that that is the only true tap in bowling, the only true tap. I would have to disagree with that, Keith, because and Andy, because there is a particular strike where it is impossible to leave anything, even though that was a wonderful, great shot, bad break. Nice spare right there in the middle. But not having struck, we've got a 12-pin match.
I'd like to have seen a slow-mo of that ball going through the pins.
Well, what happens is, you know, the 5-pin gets chopped right straight back. It normally would hit the 8-pin. Sometimes it's the way that the pins are set up. They're not perfectly on spot, but nonetheless, it was a great shot. And let's see if Robert can respond to it. Yeah, once again.
There's got to be a bit of a mess there.
That is
What has he
ugly.
left? I can't see for a cameraman.
Well, you did the same thing in the second frame. Missed a little bit to the right. You know, on that particular lane, you miss a board to the right, and it's like it finds a little bit of a hill that's going the opposite way, and it tends to just let the ball hang out there. Tough spare, loses a lot of count. Really needs to make this to stay in the game. And 8 out gives him 156. He's on a 196 pace. Martin Larsson currently at a 225 pace, so not looking good right now for Robert Anderson. Now, should he not strike on this ball, the most that he can shoot is 2-0 something, which would mean that Martin would only have to spare or strike one time in both the 9th and 10th frames.
Oh, left the 2-pin. 164 in the 8th frame now for Robert Anderson. 184. Working on a spare for Martin Larsson in the 8th frame.
All right, with that spare, if Robert Anderson strikes out, the most he's going to shoot is 206, meaning Martin Larsson, with any kind of a spare or strike here in the 9th frame, will advance to the championship match against the hottest player in the world of bowling, Mika Koivumanini.
The mighty Major.
Yes, he's had a fabulous year.
Would have been even better if he hadn't missed a 10-pin in the US Open. Cost him, what, $25,000?
Well, I think it was more pride than anything that it cost him. That was an unfortunate thing. It's something you don't want to see as a professional, but it's never over till it's over. Officially, Martin's going to need, what's he got, 185 with the strike up. He's going to need 3 pins, 4 pins, 5 pins here on 2 balls to advance. Actually, 6 pins on 2 balls. I'm quite sure that he'll be able to do that.
On the better lane, with the better ball.
So it's official, Martin Larsson will advance to the championship match. Should he strike out, he'll shoot 245. Nice, very nice game on that pair. And normally Martin would be finishing the match, but once it's all over, which it officially is, Robert's going to go up there and kind of get out of the way.
Once again, the 2 pins becomes a little on the stubborn side.
Keith, do you think there's any significance to that number 7 that's on the left side of Robert's jersey right there? I don't really know if that has any meaning.
All the Team Pergamon members have a number.
Okay.
Which they show on their shirt.
Okay. 192 officially for Robert Anderson. And with a strike here, Martin will shoot 245.
And that looks like a strike to me. And all 10 pins in the pit. So 245 for Martin Larsson.
First match and final, Larsen.
245 for Martin Larsen,
2 seconds,
192.
we'll be ready with the
Robert
practice
Anderson.
balls for the final.
Presumably, Kivanimi, you will now have a couple of practice balls on lanes 5 and 6 before we go into the final. Mika's first ball leaves a 4-6, but it's a practice ball. Martin's keeping his string of strikes going with strikes, all 10 pins in the pit with his first practice ball.
It's often debated whether there's a bit of an advantage if you're playing in the first match, coming in for Mika fresh on this pattern now, on this pair of lanes.
Well, obviously there is an advantage. You know, if you were to take any tournament, say, would you rather be the #1 seed or the #2 seed? I think every player would choose to be the #1 seed. But if you knew that you were the #2 seed and you were going to win your first match, you would take that all day because you got a little feel for the lanes all day.
That is precisely the question that I asked Mika just before the match. So would you prefer to be #1 or #2? And he said, I'll go for #1 all the time.
Yeah. Well, Mika's really had a phenomenal year, not only on the PBA Tour, but international events. He's been on fire. He seems to be unstoppable. Certain players reach that point in their career where their confidence is at probably the highest level that it's ever been in their life, and Mika's there right now. I can guarantee you that.
I understand he's been bowling for something like 30 years or more.
Well, everybody, regardless of what type of career they had, everybody peaks. Everybody gets to a certain point where that is the highest that they're ever going to be, and I guarantee you right now, you know, Mika won. Well, he made the finals in all the majors. He darn near won the U.S. Open had it not been for that little missed 10 pin against Norm Duke. But he won the big tournament, the $250,000 and the tournament champions. He's just he's been on fire. He's just someone that everybody knows if he shows up, you're going to have to reckon with him.
And #1 in the world rankings right now too.
Yeah.
He's also ranked 3rd on the European Tour and 3rd on the PBA Tour.
I think he's gone by finishing in this position. I think he's taken over as #1 on the European Tour now. The women on the European Tour, Jolene Persson-Pamfors has taken over from Mai Ginga Jensen as the #1.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready for the final in the 33rd CIUTAT International de Barcelona, the 12th stop of the European Bowling Tour 2011. And in the final we have from Finland, Mika Koivunieemi. And his opponent is from Sweden, Martin Larsen. And Martin Larsen will begin the match. Good luck.
So, Brian, Martin Larsen starting on 5. Starting on 5.
Well, there's really two things you look for prior to a match. What is your favorite lane, and what is your opponent's worst lane? And, you know, I have to think that Mika's smart enough to know that lane 6 is the more difficult. Why not let your opponent finish on that lane, which he's doing right now. Good shot there by Martin.
Are you sure he hasn't got an automatic bowling ball that is radio controlled, that just finishes in the pocket every time.
When Martin Larson gets it going,